Well, good evening. It's Sunday, 20th of October, 2019, Journal 2001, T plus 2000 and 201. It was wishful thinking, I suppose. It was journal number 201, T plus 201. Um, interesting day. When I was at the shop all the time, uh, and wondering what I would write about in the next issue of whatever publishing company I was working for at the time, uh, I would say to just about anybody and everybody that asked me about it that all I needed to do was show up, and the subject would reveal itself. And that's true so far, very much the case with with writing this blog. It's like you wonder when you wake up in the morning what you're going to write about, and then at some point during the day, the universe reveals what the topic's supposed to be and what you have to do about it. And today's topic was uh, annoying, frankly. I don't know if there's a better word for it than that. But it had to do with the difference, it has to do with the difference between uh, relationship based interactions and transactional reactions. And most of the time, they occur in business. As a matter of fact, it's almost exclusively a problem that we experience in business. And it's a problem a lot of small business owners aren't aware of. And I know that's hard to believe because there's a lot that's been written about it, it's been spoken about. There are, dozens of different kinds of material available, you know, everywhere with regard to the importance of relationship based interactions. Um, and what that means now, the thing that's interesting about that is that most people um, tend to think of this in terms of high touch kinds of interactions on more sophisticated, more complicated, more involved kinds of transactions that occur. But that's not necessarily the case, and it works either way. So you can go into a 7-Eleven, you can walk into any kind of a C store, convenience store, and reach across the counter to pick up a pack of gum and have the person on the other side smile and say, here it goes. And rather than just take your money and have you leave, say, hi, how are you? You having a good day? Or I hope you're having a good day, or in some way connect as a human being, and that becomes much more meaningful. And the most important part of that is that as those relational nuances occur more frequently and they get deeper and they're more solidly ingrained, it makes you want to go back for more. And there are all kinds of examples of that, but we experienced one today that was kind of profound, and it was not with a small ticket item, and it was at a neighborhood retail store, not part of a large chain. Now, we we admittedly had gone to this place before and had a wonderful experience. Um, the people that were at the store were incredibly uh, helpful. They were courteous. They were concerned in trying really hard to ensure that we made the right choice. Spent a lot of time with us as we picked out um, what it was that we were looking for. And I'm being coy here. I'm not telling you what that was because I don't think it makes a difference. It doesn't matter what it was. Um, but they made us feel welcome and wanted. And they made us feel like our business was appreciated. So when we went back to that store, hoping to uh, hoping to repeat that experience, hoping to have the same person who had waited on us before there again. But assuming that it didn't matter, that the culture, we talked about this a lot this week, that the culture of that particular business was such that we would be able to expect uh, a deeply relationship-based kind of an experience, and got completely the opposite. Got exactly the opposite. Couldn't have been more transactional. Pointed to the product, said there it is. Either you want it or you don't want it. Um, is it a floor model, or is it, is it, they're all floor models. Do you have any more in stock? Um, no, no, what you see is what's available. Um, when is the next order coming in? What will you be getting additional uh, pieces of merchandise in so that we have a greater selection, different choices? Nope. I have no idea. The boss orders whatever he wants to order, and we deal with whatever those choices are. And you're getting the general idea that it wasn't a pleasant experience. And you're right, it wasn't. It was the antithesis of the experience we had the first time we went into this facility, which is why we went back. Um, I wish more small business owners understood how important it is to build relationships and transactions that occur, to take them from being a transactional kind of emotionless and sterile kind of experience, and you know making sure that there was a very high human touch element involved in trying to build some kind of a relationship between the store and the client, between the individual and the client, between uh, between the owner and the client, even if the owner is absentee. And it's funny because in the same general area, my wife and I, Lesley and I, had gone looking for a car before we got the car we have now, one of the two cars that we have now. And we went into a dealership that's in the same area. And I've never really felt quite, well, that's not true. I have felt blown off like that before, but usually it happens once and I'll never go back. And that's what happened here. We were looking for a vehicle. I was ready to buy a vehicle. We weren't, I'm the kind of person when I go into a dealership, it's to buy. It's not to just browse. I have a pretty good idea what I'm looking for. I'm down to two or three different vehicles, different manufacturers. But I know almost exactly what I want. It's not a completely irrational emotional choice. And I was very specific about what I wanted and what I was looking for. And we spent time at the dealership, and they were bordering on incompetent, um, almost comically incompetent, until about 3 weeks after we had left, and a week after we had purchased a different vehicle, called up to find out if we were coming back. And when they asked why, I told them, you made me feel totally irrelevant in the transaction. You made it sound, if you want it, buy what we have. We're not going to go ahead and make any attempt to try and find you what you want. And those kinds of, and I'm not grousing about that. I'm talking about it philosophically, because it's important that regardless of what kind of human interaction you have, the more cold, the more impersonal, the more devoid of humanity it is, whether it's a commercial transaction or whether it's a transaction between um, a sales professional and a client, a buyer. It really doesn't matter. The more the deeper the relationship, the more human, the more high touch, the more time someone spends getting to know who you are, what you're all about, and what problem you're trying to solve. If I go into a dealership, me personally, you don't have to tell me about all of the bells and whistles about the car. You don't have to tell me about the vehicle's engineering. I know a pretty fair amount about the vehicle's engineering when I get there. Um, but if I'm looking for a vehicle, it's because I'm trying to solve a problem. And if you make no attempt to try and understand what that problem is, I'm going to go somewhere else where that's going to happen because I'm going to get a better solution. And I think that's what happens when you're talking about situations like this. So, thank you very much. I'm not going to walk out of a store with a half a pound of nothing. That's not what I'm interested in. So think about that. Think about relationships that you have, either with people that you patronize in business or with relationships that you're involved with other people, interactions that you have with other people. And I think you'll have to agree that the more fulfilling relationships, the more satisfying relationships, either commercially or interpersonally, are ones where there's a deep connection, where both parties are trying to understand each other and get to know each other better, and try and measure the wants, needs, and expectations that are inherent in any kind of an interpersonal relationship. Um, in the meantime, while you're pondering that, stay well and take care. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye bye.